I now call the East Lyme Zoning Commission regular meeting of April 6, 2023 to order at 7:30 p.m. For those of you who haven't already, if you could silence your cell phones. Thank you. And we start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry. Roll call. Mr. Dwyer. Mr. Granitek.
Present.
Ms. Jet Harris.
Here.
Mr. Peck.
Here.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mr. Ginsburg. Great, here. I believe Ms. Markowitz is gone. Mr. Schmidt.
Here.
Mr. Mulholland is here. Ms. Spang. And Ms. Hardy. Great. First, we're opening the meeting with public delegations. And a public delegation is a time when members of the public are invited to speak to the commission on subject matters that are not on tonight's agenda. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on something that is not on the agenda tonight? No? Okay, we'll move on to the public hearing. We'll start out with indoor dining renewals. Outdoor dining renewals. Most people know this is mostly a housekeeping matter. We have, here we go, several of them, although I will point out number 13, Devs on Main, is decided to come to a later meeting. So if you could
Madam Chair,
read, the legal ad has been run?
yes, so that's continued to the next meeting. Thank you.
Yes. And we have the memo on that. There you go.
As April 6, 2023 Zoning Commission meeting agenda, public hearing, items number 1 through 15, restaurant, outdoor dining, special permit renewals. As the Commission is aware, restaurant, outdoor dining facilities that serve alcoholic beverages are required under Section 20.25, Al. number 1 of the zoning regulations to renew their special permits annually. This evening we have 15, now 14, such applicants. It has become the Commission's practice to essentially renew these permits in one motion, provided there have been no issues with the operation of these facilities. At this time, I can report that I have not had any complaints this year regarding any of the subject applications and would recommend approval.
It is still 15, I believe. It is still 15, I believe.
Is there still 15 or 14 now?
There's
On the agenda, there's
1
16.
through,
It's like 16.
Right, and if we're
Now we have-
continuing candidates, we're 15.
We have,
it's
I have
1
17.
through 15 minus 13. But if you can read these into the record.
I have, I have 17. Oh no, I'm sorry. Excuse me. 16, yes, so 15. In order, application of Eugene Emeny for Black Point Pizza for renewal of special permit for outdoor dining, 44 Black Point Road, Niantic. Number 2, application of Eduardo Martone for renewal of special permit for outdoor dining at 11 Patagonia Road, Niantic. Item 3, application of East Lyme Cafe, LLC, DBA Smokey O'Grady's for renewal of special permit for outdoor dining at 306 Flanders Road, Niantic. 4, application of Niantic Morton House, LLC for 5 Churches by the Bay for renewal of special permit for outdoor dining at 215 Main Street, Niantic. Number 5, application of EH, LLC, DBA Family Pizza for renewal of special permit for outdoor dining at 233 Main Street, Niantic. Item 6, application of Leo Roche, I believe, for Strive LLC for renewal of special permit for outdoor dining as 247-2 Main Street, Niantic. Number 7, application of Teddy's Ignatiatus for Main Street Grill for renewal of special permit for outdoor dining at 252 Main Street, Niantic. Item 8, application of Chris Herbert for La Llorona for renewal of special permit for outdoor dining at 267-283 Main Street, also known as 13 Hope Street, Niantic. Number 9, application of Steve Turner for Lillian's for renewal of special permit for outdoor dining, 374 Main Street, Niantic. Item 10, application of Costas Anastasio for Niantic Diner for Charles for renewal of special permit for outdoor dining at 26 West Main Street, Niantic. That's Charlie's, not Charles. Number 11, application of Nejla Akzuz for Niantic Pizza for renewal of special permit for outdoor dining at 53 West Main Street, Niantic. And moving on, item 12, application of Steve Carpentieri for Niantic Bay Inn Incorporated, also known as the Lyme Tavern, for renewal for special permit for outdoor dining, 229 West Main Street, Niantic. Item 13 has been postponed. Number 14, application of Janeth Velen for Rosa Negra for renewal of special permit for outdoor dining at 214 Flanders Road, Niantic. Item 15, application of Martin Zavala for Zavala's for renewal of special permit for outdoor dining, 135 Boston Post Road, Niantic. And finally, application of George Norden for special permit.
That's
Oh, I'm sorry, I went on too far.
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
Is there any discussion with the commission on these? Does anyone from the public have a comment on the outdoor dining permits? No? Okay, do I have a motion to close the hearing on the outdoor dining permits?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Madam Chair, could you make a motion to continue the application that wasn't covered tonight? I believe that needs a motion to move to the next agenda.
Does someone want to make that motion?
I make a motion to continue the application of Candace for Devs on Main for the renewal of the special permit for outdoor dining at 255 Main Street, Niantic.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Ms. Hardy. All right, moving on. Next, we will hear from a presenter for the application of George Norden for a special permit indoor recreation to operate an exercise center for individuals over 50 years of age with chronic pain or illness at 170 Flanders Road, Niantic, East Lyme, Assessor's Map 26.3, Lot 11. And Mr. Mulholland was the legal note run and the sign posted. Okay, thank you. I believe we have a memo to read. Okay, here it is.
All right. Memo from William Mulholland regarding special permit application 170 Flanders Road, Midway Plaza for indoor recreation. The applicant, George Norden, has applied for a special permit to operate an exercise center for individuals over 50 years of age. The program is designed for those with chronic pain or illness and provide an environment to exercise safely and effectively, with the goal to regain lost function leading to healthy and active lifestyle. Class sizes will be limited to 6 to 8 clients per session, facilitated by 1 to 2 trainers. Equipment will allow impact cardiovascular equipment. Equipment will be low impact cardiovascular equipment such as elliptical and bicycle machines, lightweight training, and resistance bands. The applicant is leasing 2 1,000 square foot storefronts. Each storefront in the development is assigned for 4 parking spaces, resulting in 8 spaces dedicated to the facility. Given the limited class size, this should be adequate.
Are there, oh, Mr. Norden, is he here? Thank you. Would you like to present, give us your name and address for the record?
Sure.
Thank you.
Home address or address for this business?
Home address.
All right. As was stated, my name is George Norton. I am the owner of Joint Effort Exercise. We have locations in Brantford, Guilford, and Old Saybrook, and hopefully Niantic pretty soon. Joint Efforts, my address is 3 Farmview Drive in Guilford, Connecticut. As stated, the exercise center is for people over the age of 50 who don't want to go into these big exercise centers. We are staffed by highly educated and experienced exercise physiologists, and we design each person's program specific to their need and capability and supervise them in a small group setting. It's kind of like a hybrid between personal training and a standard fitness facility.
Okay, do we have any questions from the commission?
So this, you said this is at Midway Plaza?
This is just from the commission right now.
So this
It's
is basically just a condensed version of a gym for people over 50,
More or less, yeah.
with trainers and such.
Yep, exactly. So it's just more supervised than like a standard fitness facility.
I just have a question, just kind of off the cuff. Do you have an AEG that you're going to be having there?
80, yes.
Yeah, since we're all.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do. Yeah, absolutely.
And is this strictly limited to over 50?
Or 50, yeah.
It is, okay.
Yeah, so just try to keep it as pleasant and comfortable as possible so everybody has the same goals and capabilities, so it makes it for a different experience than exercising with a 22-year-old in the best shape of their life. So different.
What are your hours of operation?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Tuesday and Thursday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay. Are there any noise considerations or vibrating floors?
No. So no loud music, rock music. It's real. Plays music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, nice and easy. And the machines we usually mostly use bands and light dumbbells. So it's nothing that we could be concerned about any noise.
Okay.
So for those of us over 50 who work until 4, we can't go, right?
I'll make a special consideration for anybody in the room right now.
Okay, that's
Dressing rooms, showers?
No.
okay. Does the public have any comments or questions? If you do, step up to the podium and state your name and address. No? Okay, do I have a motion to close this hearing?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have one more public hearing tonight. The application of ZDM Properties, LLC, for a special permit and design review to redevelop properties identified in the application as 338, 344, and 348 Main Street, Assessor Map 11.2, lots 165 and 166, into a mixed-use project per sections 9.2.3 and 9.2.4, 25 and 24 of the zoning regulations. Originally, it included a takeout restaurant, but that is no longer in the proposal. Mr. Mulholland was the legal ad run.
Yes.
Signposted. Thank you. And I believe we have a memo to read.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chair. Madam Chair.
Oh, sorry. We need the applicant to present.
Madam Chair, push her thing across, it's making a big echo.
Oh, okay.
And.
Yes, it's Mr. Schmidt here. Mr. Peck is recusing himself.
The only turn down, Maloney, I think I'm going to turn this one down.
Okay, thank you. And you want to read the memo?
Hello. Yeah, this one here. Memo from William Mulholland, zoning official, dated April 6, 2023. The applicant, ZDM Properties LLC, is applying for a special permit to develop a mixed-use building at the above referenced properties. The use is permitted by special permit on the ZB zoning district under section 9.2.3 of the zoning regulations, section 24 site plan, section 25 special permits, and section 25.5 table of minimum controls, and section 22 must also be complied with. In addition, the applicant is also seeking design approval under the standards in section 34, specifically section 34.8, which provides design criteria. The applicant is proposing to construct a new 3-story combined retail and residential building with 3,750 square feet on the first floor and 18 one- and two-bedroom apartments on the second and third floors. The parking requirement for residential is 1 per bedroom. As the Commission is aware, the standards in Section 25.5 for mixed use provide for lesser parking requirement to be reduced by 50%. The number of bedrooms is 21. The requirement for the commercial is 15 parking spaces minus 50% equaling 8. The total parking requirement is 29 spaces. The property has 34 spaces available. The town land use team, consisting of town planner, wetlands agent, engineering, building official, fire marshal, water and sewer department director, and myself have reviewed the property and have all signed off. The building design falls under Section 34 of the zoning regulations and requires the Commission also approve the design based on the standard in Section 34.8 of the regulations. In conclusion, the Commission will need to carefully evaluate the proposal based on the criteria and the regulations.
And then there's this.
Yeah, the board will need to assess whether the project complies with the standards in Section 25 special permit and the design criteria in Section 34.8.
Okay, do we have our presenter here?
Yes.
Would you like to give your name and address before you begin?
Yes, I would.
Thank you.
For the record, thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Norm Tebow. I'm a licensed professional engineer with Killingly Engineering Associates. Our office is located at 114 Westcott Road in Killingly, Connecticut. We are here this evening to present to you this proposed mixed-use development on behalf of ZDM Properties, LLC, 338, 334, and 348 Main Street. All right, the proposed mixed use is permitted as a special permit in the CB zone per Section 25 of your regulations. The regulations state that the purpose of the mixed use is to encourage development of Niantic Village, create an attractive environment, and provide an incentive for commercial development in the context of a mixed use. 338 Main Street, a 3,337 square foot commercial building constructed in 1953. It's located on 0.094 acre parcel shown as lot 165 in the town's assessor database. Currently houses Buckley Appraisal Services and the Connecticut Patient Advocacy Center. 344 Main Street is a 3,796 square foot building constructed in 1894. Currently houses 4 residential apartments. And finally, 348 Main Street, 1,485 square foot commercial building constructed in 1960. Currently the location of Cafe Soul. This building and 344 Main Street are on a shared 0.357 acre parcel shown as lot 166 in the town's assessor's database. So the proposed development, the project proposes to remove all of the existing structures and combine the 2 lots to create a single 0.551 acre parcel. The combined lot will be redeveloped to construct a multi-use structure for retail, office, and residential uses. First level will be 3,750 square feet of retail and commercial space, office possibly as well. Levels 2 and 3 will provide 18 total 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. As you previously stated, there was previously a restaurant use in the proposal as well. That is not before you this evening. We certainly understand that if that opportunity comes up at some point, and if this project is approved and someone wants to move in there to open up some sort of a restaurant facility, we would have to come back before this commission to get that approved separately. So, in the CB zone, specifically section 25.3, minimum lot size is 7,500 square feet. In order to calculate the residential density, The following lot area shall be required for the residential portion, and it's 1,200 square feet for each efficiency or one-bedroom unit, 2,000 square feet for each two-bedroom unit. We have proposed 15 one-bedroom efficiency or one-bedroom units times 1,200 square feet. That would be 18,000 square feet. Two-bedroom units, there are 3, and they require 2,000 square feet per unit for 6,000 square feet. So the total area required in order to do this would be 24,000 square feet, and the total area of the lot is 24,150 square feet. This was determined by an A2, a certified A2 survey that we have in our plan set that my company prepared. Okay, parking calculations. Residential apartments require 1 space per bedroom. We've got a total of 21 bedrooms for 21 spaces per section 22 of the East Line zoning. Retail, personal services, et cetera, requires 1 space per 250 square feet of gross floor area. We have 3,750 square feet of gross floor area on the first level. Divide that by 250 requires 15 spaces. However, per section 25.3C, the secondary use or the lesser use required of the lesser calculations, you can take 50% of that total. So if we take 50% of 15, 7.5 spaces, we say 8. So the total spaces required would be 29. We have provided 34 spaces. I might note as well, of those 34 spaces, 26 of them are on site and 6 of them are on street parking. Also, in the control section of section 25.3, building height, in order to encourage attractive roof line designs, except for the south side of Main Street, the Commission may approve a building height not to exceed 40 feet, provided, however, no such building shall exceed 3 stories. The Commission may consider the goal of this regulation in determining whether to grant such additional height. However, this particular building is on the south side of Main Street, so we do not qualify for that. Our maximum height would be 30 feet. The architectural plans that will be presented to you after my presentation demonstrate that we meet that criteria as well. Minimum floor area for an efficiency, 500 square feet, 1 bedroom, 650 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 850 square feet. We meet all those criteria as well. Municipal water and sewer must be provided, and they are. We have access to both for this property. The building will actually require 2 separate taps, one for domestic water consumption and one for sprinkler. This will be a fully sprinklered unit. Building floor area. No individual building shall exceed 30,000 square feet of gross floor area. Covered parking, whether or not enclosed, shall not be included in this gross floor area. We have a total of 17,390 square feet of gross floor area, so we're well below that maximum of 30,000 square feet. And once the ground floor commercial must occupy no less than 30% of the footprint of any building, including the elevated portions. So we actually use 100% of the ground floor there, so we have covered that criteria as well. Sidewalks. So Mr. Mulholland and I discussed this this afternoon. Sidewalks shall be constructed to the town standards along the entire street frontage. This requirement may be waived by the Commission upon finding that sidewalks at the proposed location are not necessary or desirable for pedestrian safety and circulation. I will review it on the plans after my PowerPoint presentation here, but in essence, we are requesting a waiver of the requirement of sidewalks on the western side of Baptist Lane, which is the side of the road that we are on. There are currently sidewalks on Main Street in front of the building, and there are sidewalks on the eastern side of Baptist Lane. And Baptist Lane is approximately 22 feet wide. Don't really see the necessity for a sidewalk that would go halfway down Baptist Lane and terminate, and then any pedestrian using that sidewalk would have to cross at that point anyway. What we do propose in order to create a little better pedestrian safety we are proposing sidewalk ramps and a crosswalk at the intersection of Baptist Lane and Main Street. There are currently sidewalks on Main Street, and at that crossing point where it crosses Baptist Lane, there are no ramps there, and there is no crosswalk there at the moment. So as part of this, we'd like to propose that gives ample opportunity for pedestrians to access the sidewalks on Baptist Lane that they don't have right now. One of the things I like to look at when we are presenting these special permit applications, I think it's important to take a look at the plan of conservation and development and see how these projects fit in with it. And the introduction on your plan of conservation and development, they talk about smart growth, which includes the creation of diverse housing options, which I believe we're covering here, promotion of mixed land uses. Once again, this mixed use does fall into that category. Foster distinctive, attractive communities with a strong sense of place. I think this really could be sort of a landmark building on Main Street, something that potentially in the future other buildings and other properties follow suit to kind of give East Lyme that appearance of that that beachside or seaside community. I think the architectural style really reflects that. Preserve open space, farmland, natural beauty, and critical environmental areas. Since this is a redevelopment of a property, we are not disturbing a property that is currently not undeveloped. We're not removing any trees, any vegetation. There's not an excessive amount of earth disturbance here. And finally, strengthen and direct development toward existing communities. This is a vital part of the community. I think this would certainly be a nice addition to it with both the retail and the residential uses that we're proposing for this property. It also, the POCD also says development guided by these smart growth principles enhances neighborhoods, reinforces community vitality, protects natural resources, and creates a vibrant place to live, work, and play. Continuing with the Plan of Conservation and Development, the mission statement of the Plan of Conservation and Development is safety, security, economic stability, beauty, maintenance of property values, and infrastructure are all important to the long-term physical development of East Lyme. As such, the mission of East Lyme is to create and sustain a healthy community, one whose residents have stability and security, with the preservation of natural resources for future generations. Once again, there's a lot of discussion throughout your entire Plan of Conservation and Development that talks about natural resources and preservation of natural resources in many different areas. Even in the housing, where they talk about cluster housing, once again, it really comes back to that. And I would present to the Commission that once again, I believe that this particular project falls within that realm. Finally, the vision is to ensure that changes enhance East Lyme and seeks to carefully balance the need for economic development and land use with preservation of recreational, scenic, historic, cultural, agricultural, and natural resources. Once again, I feel like I'm hammering the same point all the time here, but these are all sections of the POCD that I'm quoting from. The goals are to maintain the traditional New England character of the community and enhance the Niantic and Flanders Village identities of East Lyme. Once again, the appearance of the building, I believe, really drives that point home. And housing, as a commercial zoning space occupies approximately 5 to 6% of East Lyme's zoning map, the population studies have indicated that East Lyme's existing housing stock is sustainable for the future. Residential use of currently commercially zoned property is strongly discouraged, except in the case of mixed-use development, which we are proposing here. Just bear with me for a minute. So, just the cover sheet of the plans here. The plans have been reviewed by all members of the town staff. We did meet a few weeks ago with Mr. Mulholland, Bill Shear, Public Works, Water and Sewer, Gary Goschel, the wetlands agent. There aren't any wetlands on this particular property, but he was welcome to come to the meeting and give us his opinions on this particular project. I think Gary's biggest concern was some of the landscaping. We are proposing boxwoods that Mr. Goshen feels as though they smell bad. I haven't experienced that, but I certainly, if the commission feels as though we have to substitute at some point, we certainly can. This is just the existing condition survey. As you can see, the two lots, lots 165 and 166. You've got the three existing buildings, the existing commercial building here, the residence, and the Cafe Sol here. This describes the demolition plan and the sequence of demolition. Basically, it is the responsibility of the contractor to verify the location of utilities and call before you dig beforehand. It is noted on the plan as well that any utilities work, any disconnects of existing utilities or new connections of utilities have to be under the watch of Public Works. They're very adamant about that. It is stated in our notes on this page. All utility work would be performed in accordance with the Town of East Lyme requirements. Contractor shall obtain all necessary demolition permits prior to the removal of existing structures. The contractor shall provide temporary construction fencing around the perimeter of the site to prevent intrusion on the site and for the safety of pedestrians in the area as well. Any stored materials should be planned accordingly. They do not interfere with access to the site or they don't create dangerous conditions. The contractor shall protect existing site items which are to remain. In particular, there are some water gates for the existing water services. There are some sanitary sewer connections. It is the hope that we'll be able to utilize those for this particular project and not have to go into the road and cut pavement and disrupt traffic and so forth. The contractor will repair and or restore any damage to the site on or off, which are on the site which are to remain. All backfill work on the site, excavation required used for the demolition activities shall be accomplished in lifts which do not exceed 8 inches. So any kind of compaction, if we're putting down structural fill and so forth, it has to be done carefully so to protect the integrity of the building in the future. There will be no burning of materials on site, no burying of materials, kind of typical construction sequence items. All materials removed from the site shall be legally disposed of in accordance with the state of Connecticut solid waste regulations. And finally, property boundary markers will be maintained throughout the project, and if they are disturbed during the construction phase, they will be replaced at the termination of the project. So this is the proposed layout that I talked about. This rear parking lot here, we have a total of 26 parking spaces. We have 8 parking spaces, parallel parking along the road. Cars parked there currently. They are not striped. We are proposing to actually stripe those parking spaces. And right in this area here is the crosswalk and the ramp system that I had discussed earlier. This is the sidewalk on the west side of Baptist Lane that goes down to the hole-in-the-wall gang beach. Terminates at the parking lot at that point. Well, the stormwater system is going to be maintained by subgrade infiltration and detention. We have roof drainage that will go to these storm tech units. We have a catch basin in the southwest corner of the parking lot, and that catch basin, anything that hits that catch basin will be conveyed back to the system. The darker row that you see in this system is actually a treatment system. What it does is it takes any kind of impurities out of the stormwater prior to discharging them into the rest of the system. We have very little runoff off this site. We have a reduction in the peak runoff rate. We have a reduction in the peak runoff volume as well. We are kind of blessed with the very nice sandy and well-drained soils that we have here. The system is designed very conservatively. The soil types for this type of area, for these sands and gravels, generally infiltrate at a rate of about 18 to 20 inches per hour. Our system design utilized a rate of 5 inches per hour, very conservatively, so that we make sure that we do not, it does not result in any issues with off-site drainage. As I said before, utilities will be utilized. We have a 6-inch and a 16-inch water line in Main Street. There is a 6-inch water line down Baptist Lane. There are currently 3 water services and 3 sanitary sewer services that extend into these properties from the existing structures that are there. Parking spaces are 9 by 18 as required by your regulation. We have a dedicated screened dumpster area. We have a dedicated loading area. And one of the things that the DOT is requiring, because ultimately, even though Baptist Lane is not a state road, the drainage system does take drainage from Main Street and discharge it down this area here. So one of the things DOT required is that they need a drainage connection concurrence in order to tie into that system. It's just another step when you go in to do the work, any kind of work in the right-of-way. Typically, you need something that's called the PMT1, which is the permit to actually do the work. Form CLA-5, which is basically a bonding document, and this will just be a third document that's going to be required, and it's called a drainage concurrence connection in order to tie into their system. This is the landscape and lighting plan. We are going to be surrounding the site with a 6-foot-high vinyl fence. Up against that fence, there are some evergreen trees, emerald green arborvitae will be up against the fence. Along the frontage of the building, we are proposing some flowering cherry trees. These are small flowering trees that get about maybe 10 or 12 feet high. I think they'll add a really nice look to the building. We do have a patio area over here. And we've got a small 6-foot, a 4-foot-high wrought iron fence in the patio area, and we have those dreaded boxwoods around the perimeter of the fence itself. All of the lighting on the site will be certified dark sky compliant. We do not have any overhead lights. We have all bollard lighting on the project, and these small sort of squiggly lines show the extent of the throw from these lights. Any lights at the building, they will be face downward as well. There is a significant porch around the building, and it is likely that the lighting from the porch will be in the top of the porch itself, in the roof of the porch. That'll shine directly down in the porch area for pedestrian safety. The remainder of this is just basically the details, all of the construction details, erosion and sedimentation control details. As I said, the plans have been reviewed by town staff. I have worked very closely with Mr. Mulholland on this, and I do thank him for all his input on this. And Bill Shear was very helpful as well. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Peter Springsteel, who is the project architect, to talk about the building itself.
Okay. And Peter, could we have your address for the record? Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Peter Springsteel. I am a licensed architect in the state of Connecticut. And I think I lost my power.
You lost your power?
Yeah.
There's a plug right there, or you may have one closer on this side.
I don't know if that'll reach.
If you'd like, you could bring your laptop to the podium, and yep, the wireless connection, and then plug in right there.
So it's got a boot. But I'll start out. My name is Peter Springsteel, architect licensed in the state of Connecticut. And my office is at 105 Star Street in Mystic. I am not sure why it's not coming through.
If you need a few minutes, maybe we could take a couple-minute break. That's. Let's adjourn for a 5-minute break.
Share for Windows. Then you should be good to go.
I'll let it do its thing. Yeah.
Okay, say preparing. So you got it should be good now.
There you go.
There we go. As soon as you walk off.
Yeah, see that?
Yeah.
So you get the magic touch there, do you?
Yeah.
Take care. Should open till 8 on some nights.
Or they come in the back of the building, I don't know. I don't assume we'll see what the design
I have a protein bar. Oh, we don't need you passing out.
Agreed. But you don't need to just find out. But then
They're safe for sidewalks.
so it's all there. Weird.
Yeah, so they don't have to walk around.
No, this is. But if he's
And Bill Shear did too. And he's like a bulldog, isn't he?
Whatever.
yeah.
I think it is too. It's 3.5. It's 3.5 stories, so it has to.
More people. You're special.
You tell him, Bill. You tell him. All right.
Are we good? Okay. I think we're all back now. Okay. Okay, we're going to continue with the presentation. Thank you.
So, as the architect of this project, my mission here is to provide a building that's going to fit into the neighborhood. It's going to serve the needs of the developer, and it wants to be a building that's going to last a long time and serve this community for a long time. So when I approach a project like this, the first thing I like to do is get a sense of the context of the neighborhood. I'm fairly local, so I've been to Niantic many, many times, but I intentionally walked the whole neighborhood to really look at buildings and see what's going on along the street on Main Street. So this map up here is showing you that whole neighborhood. where you have Main Street right here, and then you've got Baptist Lane right here. Our project site is these two parcels right here, and I drew in the footprint of our proposed building so you get a sense of the scale of it in relationship to other buildings in the neighborhood. So if you start along the east end of Main Street at the intersection of Pennsylvania Avenue, I did sort of a photo tour, which I'll go through here in a moment, to show you the vertical scale of the buildings. This map shows you more of the footprints of the buildings. And you can see there's, some pretty big footprints, especially along the eastern end of Main Street here. A lot of commercial buildings. As you go farther to the west, you get some smaller buildings, some lower buildings, but then it pops up again. If you get to, I think it's called Bayside, which is Gary Smith's building that was built maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. That's got a little more height and a little more bulk to it. And you continue on down here, and you've got the assisted living building that's fairly bulky as well. And across the street, you've got a vacant parcel, and then you've got St. David's Church, a couple of homes, and then some commercial buildings that were formerly houses, I believe. And then you come to our site right here. Let's go to the photos. So you probably all recognize this building. I forget what it's called. Everybody's got a name for it. But this is at the eastern end of Main Street, looking out to the bay. Another view of it, I'm sorry. And then across the street you have a restaurant building that's been restored very nicely. It's got a nice feel to it. It's somewhat vertical in appearance. Going further down towards the west, you've got some lower commercial buildings that are probably not the most attractive and fitting of a New England village, but they're there. And then another view, we've got a gas station. We got a couple of gas stations or service stations on the main street there, which is kind of becoming a thing of the past, that we try to want to see those go away so that they're not right in the vital downtown area. And then we're getting down towards our project here. This is the Candy Building, ice cream shop, I believe, right here. This is Baptist Lane, going down to the hole in the wall. And then across the street, there's the buildings on our property. So we've got low buildings, we've got tall buildings. As you walk down Main Street, you'll notice that theme. We've got a bunch of low buildings, and then we have some tall buildings. And it does that for the whole length of the street. Even as you go down towards Waterford, there's the up and down context of this neighborhood. So we are proposing a fairly large building here, so I want to be able to justify its existence here. On our site, we have a fairly tall building that we're going to be taking down, but it's got a lot of height, it's got a lot of bulk. Our building will have similar height and a little bit more bulk for sure. These are some of the buildings on the north side of the road. They're taller, more single family in nature, some of them, but they are commercial buildings. Then this is Bayside, I think it's called Bayside, Gary Smith's project, and this has more of that 2.5, 3-story feel to it. It's longer building. It's somewhat comparable to what we're proposing in terms of its bulk and height. And then beyond our property going to the west are these smaller 1-story or 2-story, formerly residences probably, but I think they have commercial businesses in them. No, they're homes. This looks residential in nature, but it's a fairly tall building. And then we have St. David's Church here, which is kind of a...
St. John's.
St. John's, I'm sorry. And then looking back to the north again, we've got some taller, older residential type buildings, and then we got the Smith project and more similar types of houses going back towards the east. So, the building that we're proposing is 3 stories. It's got commercial on the first floor here. It wraps the corner on Baptist Lane. And so we're taking our commercial storefronts and we're wrapping them around the corner. And I think part of your regulations, they suggest that. On the second floor, we have residential apartments. On the third floor, we have residential apartments. And one thing I want you to note in this view, this is a perspective drawing, so this is what you see in reality as opposed to a head-on elevation drawing. So this drawing is illustrating the fact that you won't be able to see much of what's going up on the roof. We have our mechanical equipment up on the roof, but the building's deep enough so that we have an area towards the center of the roof where we can hide all the mechanicals. When you see the elevation drawings, you'll see those because that's a dead-on view. It's not the view you see in reality. So this view is taken from across the street, and you can see the little part of the little fence up there that'll be in front of the mechanical units. The residential entrance to this building is on the rear, adjacent to the parking lot. So this is our first floor plan. Baptist Lane is over here. Main Street is over here. This is the residential entrance on the rear. So you come into a little lobby right off the parking area. We have our handicap parking right near that entrance area. And then we have an elevator. And that elevator is buried within the building, so you're not going to see any elevator tower sticking out from the building or sticking up from the building. The roof, it's pretty much only coming up 2 feet above the roof, and it's inboard so that you will not see it from anywhere outside. And then we have our 2 residential stairways coming down and also emptying out in the back of the building. In the front of the building we have our our commercial spaces. This could be divided up into as many as 4 spaces, or it could be 1 tenant. We have multiple doors coming out to a nice deep porch on the Main Street side. And then we have a little canopy and a doorway going out to our patio on the east side of the building, facing Baptist Lane. You go up the elevator to our residential floors. This is our second floor. We have 9 units. There's 3 2-bedrooms on this floor, and there are 7 1-bedrooms. No, I'm getting the numbers all wrong. There's a total of 9 units on this floor. 2 of them are pardon me. 1 of them is a 2-bedroom, 8 of them are 1-bedrooms. And one of those 1-bedrooms has a den with it. And then you can see our elevator coming up through the center here, and our stairways remotely located from each other. 3rd floor is very similar. The only difference here is we have 2 2-bedrooms and we have 7 1-bedrooms. The units facing the back of the building have little balconies on them. We think there might be some views out towards the water, so we're making use of those views. This view here is the front elevation from Main Street. So we've created this nice deep porch. We've got a sort of a entry gable on that porch to help break up the roof line and to sort of announce this is the main entrance to the commercial part of the building. We do have sidewalks coming up in multiple locations, so they align with potential tenant doorways. We have more fenestration on this lower level to, sort of indicate that this is commercial space as opposed to residential space. We've got a deep cornice running over the porch columns, and that cornice will house the signage. So the signage is fairly diminutive, but there's a place for it there, and then we're going to have downlighting to light those signage locations. There'll be no uplighting. Then these two views here are the end views. This is the Baptist Lane view here, so you can see here where we have the storefront coming around the side to create the liveliness on the street side of the building. And then you can see our residential spaces up here. And then on the west side of the building, we have more fenestration wrapping around the corner to create more interest. And then this last view is the rear building that faces the parking lot. And you can see the main entrance to the residential component of the building is right here. And then there are some doors with glass in them to create a little bit of life on the back of the building. These are entrances or rear entrances to the retail spaces. I don't necessarily envision that customers will come in that way, but it does create a little more interest on the back of the building. So in your regulations under section 34, and as I understand it, I'm one of the first, or maybe the first, to come in under this regulation. So we're kind of the guinea pigs here. And this section of the regulations is pretty thorough, and it has specific goals. And I'm going to just read a couple of these to you so you understand what's going on. Introduction. Niantic is a traditional New England village with the community of East Lyme with unique qualities and a strong sense of place. It has small and cohesive neighborhoods, a vibrant Main Street, extensive waterfront with marinas, beaches, and a public walkway, which promotes extensive pedestrian access along Niantic Bay. The village center has historically functioned as a social, civic, and commercial center of the community. So you guys already have a very nice downtown. And I think what the regulations are asking for is us to try to extend that and improve it. And then under purpose, the purposes of these architectural regulations are to establish design standards for new or renovated buildings that will preserve and enhance the New England character of Niantic Village, protect the distinctive character, landscape, and historic structures within the district, and provide a framework for design that draws inspiration from the traditions of Niantic and similarly situated New England seacoast communities, and promote the safe, functional, and attractive development of the village district. Further down, it gets a little more specific. New buildings and renovations should be designed to fit the specific characteristics of their particular site. The architecture should be influenced by traditional New England building forms and town-making patterns, the specific needs of the intended users, the nature of the intended use, and other site-specific factors. All buildings shall follow fundamental architectural principles of scale, massing, and appropriate detail, and special attention will be paid to the essential elements of building design. These elements include, but are not limited to, foundations, windows, doors, shutters, porches, stoops, entries, railings, siding, and trim. It goes on. So what I'd like to do is open up your regulations where they address the design review part of the project. And these are the criteria that you are supposed to follow. So I could brush over these or I could go into them in detail, but I'll try to make it brief but concise. I'm going to get the picture of the building here. So basic design elements are massing, scale, and proportion. So does the building fit into the scale of the neighborhood, the massing, and are the proportions of the building in keeping with sort of historical rules and regulations? This building is sort of a more contemporary building, but it's using traditional forms to create a building that I think is compatible with the rest of the neighborhood. There have been several other buildings in the neighborhood that have these kinds of elements in them, i.e. dormers, gable roofs, porches, picket railings, brackets. These are all elements that I've incorporated into this building. Architectural style and detail, very similar to the previous comments. Is it compatible with the surrounding neighborhood? And I would say we've made a great attempt here to try to provide something that takes in all those kinds of elements that are present in a lot of the buildings downtown. Storefronts, they're supposed to be articulated differently than residential facades. So they ask for more glazing on the storefront. So we've got about 75% glazing on the first floor, and it drops down to about 25 to 50% on the upper floors. So you distinguish between what's residential, what's commercial. The porch is a very important element also in distinguishing between commercial and residential, and also creates the life, some life along the main street. Roof types. There are a bunch of buildings downtown that have flat roofs. Those are obviously not ideal for a New England village. What we've done here is do what I call a hybrid. All the roofs that you see are pitched gable type roofs. There is a hidden sort of flat roof sort of behind those roofs that you see, but in a building this size you're kind of forced into that. But your perspective from the ground is that this is a traditional type building with traditional roof forms. Windows, we're proposing all double hung type windows, which are very common throughout the downtown area, both at the storefront and the residential areas. We do have some doorways on the back of the building that are sort of French style doors. You don't really see those from the street, but those are sort of a traditional element as well. Entrances should be well articulated. We've done that on the rear of the building. We've done that with the storefronts. We've shown sidewalks coming to those storefront doors. We've got openings in the porch railings where you enter onto the porch. Materials and colors. So what we're trying to create here with the body of the building is a shingle style building, and we're trying to get the impression of a natural shingle rather than a painted or a stained shingle. There's several products out there that we can use now to achieve that. Some of you may be familiar with something called Cedar Impressions. It's a very high quality vinyl shingle product. We're proposing to have this up at the second and third floor. So you can't really get close to it, but as you stand back, it looks like a real shingle. Down at the lower level, we're looking at doing a shiplap boarding, which is in this picture here. It might be a little hard for you to pick up, but it's horizontal boards, and they're broken up into panels. So you have trim, you have horizontal boards, you have trim, and it creates a sort of a welcoming and sort of a historic type of feel to it. Up in the gables of the building, we have what's called board and batten siding, and that's going to help break the height of the building down. It also creates a little bit more interest in the building, and we can do that with a composite material. They make it out of fiber cement or PVC. Your design guidelines here, they sort of stress using wood products. We've had a lot of trouble with wood products, and we're near the water, so manufacturers have come out with all these great new composites. They look just like wood, but they perform much better. So when you use them, your building's going to look better for a much longer period of time. So that's essentially what we're proposing here, is to use PVC products, vinyls, and fiber cement. And they all kind of look like the real thing. I do a lot of work in the Mystic Historic District, and that commission has pretty much bought on to those products. Our windows would be clad vinyl windows. We're looking at using a dark bronze color, which you can kind of see here. And this is actually a color sample, a little hard to see in these photos. And that's kind of a picture of the window in that color with muttons. So there's a divider in the windows, which is very common in your historic buildings. And we're not doing black windows, we're doing dark bronze. Black seems to be a trend. We want to get away from that a little bit. These are some other views of the building. This view at the top is looking east towards the building from Main Street. And this view here is as if you were standing on Baptist Lane near the parking lot and looking back up Baptist Lane to the back of the building. This is the residential entrance right here. They mention awnings. We're not proposing awnings. We're going to have fixed porch roof, and then we have a fixed canopy roof on the side of the building you can see right down here. But those kinds of elements are encouraged, and we agree. Shade trees. I believe there are street trees right now along Main Street there, and we're going to be adding to those, I think, as was mentioned in the previous presentation. So, and then we've got that row of boxwoods around the patio. Lighting, Mr. Tebow mentioned the lighting. The building lighting is all going to be ceiling mounted. We have the porches and we have ceilings, outside ceilings in the back of the building, so everything can be mounted shining down onto the walking surfaces. We don't have anything shining out. So we have the opportunity here not to have to struggle with that. Signage I mentioned, we do have one sign, you can barely see it here, over the residential entrance in the rear of the building, and then we have the room, as I mentioned before, over the porch for individual tenant signage. And down here, interestingly, you can see this is architecture that is discouraged, and you can see a lot of flat roof buildings here and service station type structures. So in summary, we really feel that this is going to be a beneficial project for the downtown and might spur some other of the properties down there to make some changes. There are some very nice buildings downtown. There are some that are in need of a lot of TLC or replacement. I think this will increase the values of properties all around it. And I think it's a big need in today's world to have housing downtown. That's what makes small villages active and exciting. And I take, West, if you've been to Westerly lately, there's a lot of that going on. Mystic, of course, it's happening. And there's lots of little villages where they're doing these mixed-use projects. It just turns the town into a little more lively places. So in conclusion, that is it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your very detailed and great presentation. At this time, I'd like to give the commission time to ask any questions of either presenter. Do you have any questions, Phil?
I have a question, just an off-the-cuff question. Are there any, you're proposing 18 apartments in total, correct?
Correct.
Are any of them going to be ADA compliant units in this project?
They will all be what they call Type B accessible, which is a requirement of the code. Essentially what it means is you can get to the units via an accessible route, and the units are adaptable, so if somebody is handicapped, the unit can very easily be adapted. And that's all code required.
Okay. I also have another question about how did you come up with the traffic? With this, having this size of a building on Main Street, there's going to be a lot, you have the traffic specs down here, which are very detailed. Thank you very much. How did you come up with them? I'm just curious.
Is this on? Thank you. Yeah, what I utilized was I did a couple of things. First of all, the Connecticut DOT has very detailed traffic counts for their state roads. So I was able to go onto the DOT's website and look up what the actual traffic counts were. And they do them on a 3-year basis, so they're pretty accurate. And then there's a catalog that the Institute of Traffic Engineers utilizes, and it's based upon the type of use and what type of traffic they may generate per the use. So in this particular case, we had the commercial use, and then we had the residential use. So there are actually graphs that they put together that are based upon actual studies that were done for each of these uses throughout the United States. And what you do is, for each one of these things, they'll give you a rate of vehicles per hour or vehicles per day, and so forth. And you can utilize those particular uses and put them together and come up with the numbers that we came up with.
Are there any age requirements? This isn't a 55 plus or a...
No, it's
so
not.
any age?
Any age.
Is there going to be an on-site management? My concern is with one-bedroom apartments, which you're proposing, and a few two-bedroom apartments. Is there going to be some sort of regulation so you don't have an issue with 10 people in one apartment? Your one-bedroom units.
Oh, well, obviously, I think the units, a one-bedroom unit is designed for 1 or 2 people to actually live there. I mean, I'm sure there'll be occasions when there are more people in these places, but the management of the building will absolutely see to that these units are occupied accordingly.
So you intend to use a property management company, or the owners?
Well, it may be the owner himself that actually manages it, or someone who works for him.
Okay.
Correct.
I'm curious, since there's not a restaurant in the proposal right now, what is the side patio used for?
In the event.
In the event?
In the event. We are, it may not be utilized right off the bat, but they want to have the ability to be able to accommodate a restaurant if needed.
I do also like the boxwoods, and I'll tell you why. Boxwoods stay green all year round. It provides color, and they don't shed in the fall. So it will keep people safe when they're walking on the sidewalks around the perimeter of the property.
Right.
You won't have to worry about that. They don't. Their leaves stay on them all year round.
And you can't kill them.
I didn't want to say that, but
No, you really can't. I mean, my dogs have destroyed mine, and they all came back. So.
Can you tell me what the actual height of the building is? 30 is the legal limit.
30 is, and it is 30. It's 30 feet.
In the current building in the center is how high, the residential property, the white one? Do you know the actual height?
I don't know what the height of that one is. Peter, do you know?
I don't know. I might be able to guess.
Yeah. I believe A4 of your plans actually has the dimension on it, Peter.
Yeah, the 30-foot dimension for the proposed building is on this drawing right here, and it's 30 feet to the midpoint of the roof from eave to the ridge. You take the average roof.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
I know that's the illegal limit.
Yeah.
What is the actual physical height?
It
You have to add the other half.
the other half, it's about 6 more feet.
Tell me what?
5 to 6 more feet.
Yeah.
Is there, since people are living above the commercial, is there like a curfew when any business or restaurant would have to close, or is that even come up? Or
I don't think we've even considered that at this
Okay.
point.
any other questions?
Yeah, can we go back to Baptist Street? So refresh my memory, what is there now? You said there's a sidewalk on the east side,
Correct.
and that sidewalk goes from Main Street
to the parking lot at the Hole in the Wall gang.
And there's currently no sidewalk on the west side, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And there's a great deal of pedestrian traffic on that road in the summertime. It's a common running / walking path for the boardwalk and exercising. It also handles a lot of pedestrian traffic, just simply going to the beach there. And you said you had some questions on whether or not to put a sidewalk on the west side or not put a sidewalk on the west side?
Yeah, we are actually requesting a waiver for the sidewalk on the other side of the street because there is one on one side of the street already that leads all the way down there. Even if we did a sidewalk on this side of the street, it would terminate at the end of our property, and it just kind of it's a sidewalk to nowhere.
Okay.
So we just felt as though it would be a better option to actually connect the sidewalks on Main Street that are sort of disjointed from each other right now by virtue of putting ramps and a crosswalk in, which would lead you directly to that sidewalk on the west side of Bishop Lane.
Okay. Yeah. Might actually be a hazard too if you're walking on the sidewalk with a parking lot exiting as well. So yeah.
Correct,
and
the road's narrow as well. You know, it's a 22-foot wide roadway. So I think from an appearance, obviously on Main Street, it makes a lot of sense. You've got 4 lanes of traffic. You've got shoulders, grass shoulders. Then you got the sidewalks. So, these sidewalks are 60 to 70 feet apart. If you're going to have sidewalks 22 feet apart, it just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
I just have one more question. With the products that you've talked about in your PowerPoint presentation, do you foresee any problem of getting the products that you want to use? Because the products that you're talking about that you want to use are good products. Do you have any, do you think that, because I know in the past when there's been buildings and stuff that were, any kind of building, whatever, COVID impacted getting certain things, as we all know. So are these things that you're proposing, do you think that will be
No,
a hard
the supply chain has improved in the building industry, but it's also that the contractors have learned how to deal with it by planning sooner in the process when they're ordering things. So we shouldn't have any trouble getting these products. They're commonly used today all the time, and they're readily available.
What is the thought about putting any chargers for cars in the parking lot?
I don't think there would be any objection to that. We could certainly put a couple in a couple of the spaces, or at least provide the accommodations for them. I know a number of the projects that I've got approved more recently, they want the infrastructure there. You don't necessarily have to put the charger in at this point, but if you put the infrastructure there, at least you've got the opportunity to do that in the future.
And you'd be open to doing that?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then I was wondering, are there any kind of storage units for the renters in the building? I was just thinking if people had bicycles or things like that.
We do have an area on the first floor that's probably oversized for the mechanical uses that we would need. So that could easily be used for that kind of use. So I've got these 2 spaces here. One's called sprinkler, the other's electric, but they're much bigger than they need to be. So we can certainly divvy those up and make some storage. I think it's a good idea.
Anybody else on the commission have a question or comment? We haven't, we'll get to the,
That's Jan.
yeah, it hasn't changed yet in our bylaws.
I guess I have just one last maybe comment or remark about parking. I know we're sort of, you're within the requirements, but you're all the way at the end of it. And obviously there's clearly some plans for a restaurant. We have a restaurant and brewery that was open recently in town, and they have minimal parking on site, and they're currently utilizing municipal parking lot. Is that the possibly long-term goal if a restaurant's added to utilize the parking at the end of Baptist Street?
Well, we do have 5 additional spaces right now, I would assume that that would probably be one of the options would be to utilize that parking. Being the location that it's in, if there were a restaurant here, I think it would be something where people would want to walk to anyway. If people are walking in the downtown area, if they're walking from the beach, if they're already parked. I don't envision it being anything significant. We just simply don't have the room to accommodate like a full-service restaurant with a big kitchen or anything of that nature. It might be counter service with a couple of tables, a few outdoor tables, something very small scale.
And we're utilizing on-street parking right now in this current proposal, you said,
Yes.
correct?
Yep. Yeah, we do. We have 5 additional spaces, more than we need at this point. But in reality, truth be told, I think like every other business around or every other commercial development around, if it's a high intensity use, I don't really envision any high intensity use here. If you've got some sort of a country store or a candle shop or something of that nature, I think that's kind of the types of businesses that we're envisioning being here.
Right. Thank you.
All the loading of the stores would be up from Main Street.
We have a loading space in the back of the building.
Oh,
Yes, we've got a dedicated loading space.
And is there space for a dumpster back there?
Yes,
as
we
well?
have a dedicated screened dumpster as well.
Okay. And I'm sure you did look in to see if any FEMA regulations applied.
Yes, they do not here. We are well above the flood here.
So as Mr. Dwyer just pointed out, in terms of loading zone you have in the rear of the building,
Mm-hmm.
and we mentioned about how that is a high traffic area for pedestrians in there.
Right.
So the type of businesses that you get in terms of delivery, whether in the future it may be a restaurant, is this a loading zone to where they're going to be required to have their vehicles, such as like a rig, go down there, unload to that establishment, or will that vehicle be on Main Street unloading? So by eliminating a sidewalk on your side of that property, proposed sidewalk that you're requesting a waiver for,
Mm-hmm.
you are also eliminating more access down to that very popular area. And also with the residences above, on that side, you're proposing a crosswalk up top on Main Street. So then basically, why not add one at the rear of your building or add the sidewalk coming up so that if a tenant does want to come up to Main Street,
Mm-hmm.
they have that accessibility right there, right?
Sure.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The loading zone in the back for me is an issue because of the size of vehicles that would be going back there and such.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it is in compliance with the town's regulations.
I understand that. I'm
No.
just letting you know. But as most people who know me, I am a sidewalk person.
Okay.
Okay, and quite a few businesses ask for waivers. They've been granted to them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, like I said,
I'm not a big
we
fan.
can only ask, and it's certainly the obligation of this commission to decide whether or not it's appropriate. So, whatever this commission decides upon is what we're going to do.
I also noticed on your plans you don't have any proposed wall separation in the commercial space. Is that on purpose, or
Yeah.
what is the intention of that?
I think.
Well, yeah, when you develop raw commercial space, you try to create this big open space, and it can be subdivided in any number of ways. We don't know who the tenants are or what their needs are yet. When we get tenants, then we might put partitions up to define the space. That's normal.
So help me, then the parking requirements for each business could be required as one? Am I?
Parking is based on square footage, so
Okay, all right. Thank you. So what is your goal? Let me ask you that. How many business do you propose? On
I
your drawings, you show
I think the goal is to
4.
fully rent the space, whatever it takes.
Yeah. You're just hoping to get as many as you can, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Or one big restaurant, per se. in the future?
I don't, there's not enough parking to do any kind of restaurant here of any, size. It would have to be very, very small. Because once the parking regulations are based upon the public accessible space within the restaurant. So I think it's one space per 50 square feet. So very quickly, we are well over our parking requirement. So it's going to be hard to do.
I understand that. But you also show an outdoor patio, which is for the future use of a possible restaurant.
I think also that patio's use will be for the residents that live there. They can come down, sit outside. I think the public's probably going to use it too. I don't think there's going to be any way to keep the public off of it. So I think it's going to be an amenity for the community, really. It's right at that corner there, which is, I found that downtown Niantic is really a place where people talk to each other on the street. They sit on the benches there.
So sidewalk actually would help you out there, huh?
Well, we might.
Just saying.
So there's a current use for that patio now. It's not waiting for a restaurant to happen. It's going to be used.
Let's see, because it says dining area on my phone.
Is the commission good? Any other questions? No? Okay. At this time, we'll open it up for the public. First, let's do it like we do all hearings. You'll go to the podium, you'll state your name, your address. Please keep your comments to 2 to 3 minutes. And please don't repeat comments that everyone else makes. If you have something new to say, great, but it's getting late and there's a lot of people here. Let's start with people that want to speak for the project.
And Madam Chair, it also can't be an interaction between
Yes.
the commission. You have to simply make your statement and we'll note it on the record, and then the next person will come up.
Thank you. So anyone here to speak for the project? No? Anyone here to speak against the project?
We just have questions.
Okay.
We'd like to have answers, that's all.
Okay, we'll get to that after anyone who wants to speak against it. Sir? Do you want to come up?
My name is Robert Fancore. I live at 107 South Beechwood Road in Niantic. I've been a resident of the town for over 18 years. Several things. First thing is I have a family member who has lived at the old White House there for 14 years. Wasn't great housing, but it was housing and it was affordable, as he is on Social Security. This project will take away 4 affordable housing units with no replacement. Now, I was able to secure a new residence for my family member, not in Niantic, not in East Lyme, because we don't have any affordable housing really in this town at all. We've lost what we had and we're continuing to lose it. At the west end of Main Street, we now have what I think is called the Norton House, a large yellow 3-story behemoth that fits in that neighborhood like an impacted wisdom tooth, with inadequate parking. Now this proposal is to put another behemoth at the other end of the village, also with inadequate parking. As the board member pointed out, one-bedroom apartments will quite often be 2 adult residents. The thought that 1 bedroom, 1 resident is not really realistic. So it won't take very long to absolutely saturate the proposed parking, leaving cars that will be hunting for parking, quite likely down at the limited public parking at Hole in the Wall. So that's going to be cut away from visitors and other residents looking for parking, because the number of spaces proposed are inadequate. And I really don't think that the village appearance and environmental conditions really will be enhanced by another 3-story behemoth. The other buildings there, including some that are strictly residential, some that are mixed, are 2 stories, maybe with a bit of attic space for utilities, which is actually proposed, and with a building of 35 feet 6 inches in total height. So it's going to be overwhelming to the area. There's a small house right next door to this. There's the gumdrop store, 2-story, very, residential-looking building. It's too much on too little space, and the societal cost of losing 4 affordable apartments, I think, is, in this environment and in this town, inappropriate.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else tonight here to speak against the project? No? Going once, going twice? Okay, sir.
Hi, my name is Anthony Lasanti. I own the property right behind it, 5 Baptist Lane. So I'm not necessarily against the project, I just have some concerns. A lot what he was talking about with the parking. There's already, when the beach gets full in the summertime, parking is like there is no parking. And they wind up going on the grass areas, and that's a concern when that time comes. Also, like he said, 1-bedroom apartments could be two people, maybe 3. The 2 bedrooms could be maybe 3 people, 4. Could be 2 cars in each apartment. I don't see where they're all going to fit over there. Also, I'm concerned with the distance from my property line. So I got a fence that goes right along the back end of it. And I know the parking's going to be there. And I saw some balconies there. Are there going to be any kind of restrictions as far as barbecuing? I'm concerned about noise, pulling in, pulling out. The entrance for the apartments are in the back, correct? So, might have younger residents there. Are they going to be, who's going to control them in a car, playing loud music, smoking, drinking? I don't know if there's going to be cameras around. Those are some things I'm concerned about. So I'm not necessarily against it. I'd like some answers for that, though. I see the value. Obviously, it would probably bring the property values up. It is a nice-looking building. The restaurant that they're proposing on the corner, that could be another potential problem as far as noise, cleanliness, papers all over the place. And if he's saying it's going to be a public space in the beginning, who's going to be hanging out in there? You know? Some things like I'm worried about. And one last thing, are they going to be rental units or are they co-op or condo type things? Are they? Can you answer that, or?
Would you mind answering that
Some of
for
those
him?
questions?
Yeah.
They will be rental units.
Do you know the approximate amounts that you'll be looking for?
I do not, I'm sorry.
Are they going to be low income, affordable housing? Do you know that?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't believe they're proposing low income. I think these will be, I guess for lack of a better term, market rate, whatever the rental, whatever the market demands.
And do you know if they're going to allow barbecuing in the back area off the balconies? Is it a fire hazard?
No. Typically, I think most apartment buildings that have these balconies and so forth, they do not allow grills or barbecuing.
Will not be allowed.
Okay. Thank you.
If I may, excuse me, Peter, the building is mandatory sprinkled, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I assume that. One last thing. So along my fence line, you were saying you're going to put a white fencing How high?
6 feet.
And then beyond that, it's going to be trees?
Yeah, evergreens, arborvitae, which are evergreens. They grow.
Yeah,
tall and
yeah,
strong.
I have them on my other side also.
Yep.
So they're going to grow well above
Correct.
the fencing, right? And
Correct.
are they going to maintain them coming over? Because they might try to come over to the other side.
Well, hopefully not, because if they do, you have every right to do what you want to
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah, I know I can, but it's a job.
Right.
you know?
Absolutely. Well, the emerald green arborvitae are typically slender.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we don't.
But they do, sometimes they grow out and grow up. I mean, I put in 3-footers, and they're now almost 15 feet high.
Okay.
So they grow. I'm just concerned about that also.
We
I like the
probably
privacy.
need to, I'm sorry, we probably need to wrap it up.
Yeah,
First.
that's it.
Okay.
I have more questions, but I'm going to stop right there.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
your time.
Yeah. Okay. It sounds like we have more kind of neutral comments or questions, so let's move on to that. Go ahead, Ray.
I'm going to try and be quick about this. Jessica Dunnican, 366 Main Street. It's the 1.5-story building that is right next door to Cafe Sol.
Virginia Brennan, I'm the owner of that property.
Okay. How tall are the light posts that are going to be in the parking lot?
Can I answer that?
Yes.
Am I allowed
please.
to do this, like
Yeah.
directly address them with
Yeah.
questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not supposed to, but if there's just one or two, I don't see
Yeah,
a problem with it.
they're bollard lights. They'll be 3 feet high. There's no lights, no light standards. They're just little
Okay,
bollards.
Thank you. You mentioned that you're not removing any trees. I believe that that is not true, because there are 2 trees on that property that will need to be removed for safety purposes.
I believe we said we're not removing the street trees on Main Street.
Okay. The trees, the arborvitae's being higher than the fence, possibly doubling the height of whatever, the barrier between our property and the view that kind of did exist of the beach is now going to be inhibited. Just fun facts for your day. We do have concerns for the dumpster plans if a future restaurant is put into place, because it is abutting our property and will only be a vinyl fence between us and a dumpster that is possibly having restaurant waste in it. So that is a concern that we do have. Our current driveway was poured right up against the side of Cafe Sol, because Cafe Sol is on our property line. So a repair to our driveway would probably need to be in place. We're concerned about construction and demolition when if that does happen, and coming onto our property, damaging our property. You mentioned in your presentation that property markers, which we do currently have granite property markers, which are very few and far between in the town anymore, probably installed in the 1800s. They do line our property, and it's kind of something that we love. And if those get destroyed or ruined, it would make us angry. And it would also be a little heartbreaking. We have a question about the fencing. It's a 6-foot stockade vinyl fence that's proposed on your plans, and honestly can't tell if it's going in between our granite property markers, if it is on your property side of it. What is the distance between our property markers and that fence, I guess, is the actual question.
Can I answer that?
If you have it readily
I think
available.
that's something that Mr. Mulholland may know.
The code allows it to be built to the property line. That's what states in the code.
Mhm.
Generally speaking, most people who install fences try to hold them back a foot so they can get on the other side and maintain them. I can't speak for the developer, but that's something that could be taken into consideration.
Okay.
Certainly, if this is approved and we get the construction phases, there'll be building officials, zoning officials, there'll be a variety of people, engineers, their engineers, our engineers, all out on site looking. And we all pay attention to the needs of the neighbors as well. We like everybody to be a good neighbor, and we encourage that. So I think that's something to be addressed at the time of construction.
Could you tell us what the setback is from our property line to the building?
I think it's 10 feet. I'd like to look because
And that's the setback, actually. The setback is the required setback is 10 feet. I believe we are 16 and change from the
Okay,
property line.
Thank you. 10 feet is like nothing.
Okay.
And what is the setback from the main sidewalk, Main Street sidewalk?
The code is 6 to 20, so it allows some flexibility. In this particular case, I think we're at, is it 8 feet, if I'm not mistaken, Norm?
And is that to the porch?
I think mine just died.
So while you're doing that, just one of the concerns and why this question is being asked is when we pull out of our driveway currently, Tabby, who operates Cafe Sol, has done all of the maintenance and landscaping at that property since she's been an occupant there. And, you know, we have good communication with her and asked, would you mind removing that bush because we can't see when we get out of the driveway. So a concern that we do have, and according to your plans, there are some trees proposed on the front of the property, which would be, you know, on the street side of that porch. So when we're pulling out of our driveway, or when other people pulling out of the Lillian's Cafe, that property, their driveway, what is the visibility going to be there? And we just want that to be taken into consideration from that vantage point, because it's already difficult enough, and if we're increasing the pedestrian traffic as well, then it's something that we'd like to have considered too.
Yeah, those particular trees that we're saying would be, they're more ornamental trees along the front of the building, small flowering cherries. They're approximately 15 to 18 feet off the pavement.
Okay.
So the street trees that are there would be more of an obstruction than what we're putting in.
I know I've taken up more than 3 minutes, but I'm not really too concerned since we live right next door. So I want to know what, you know, in the foreseeable future, what is the timeline for this project? I think a whole lot of people in this room would like to know, and around the town would like to know, if approved, what is the timeline for this project? How long would you see demolition and construction taking?
Yeah, I don't think I have a solid answer for that. It's really going to depend upon obtaining financing and so forth. I mean, obviously, this is not going to be a cheap project to do, so it's really going to be based upon obtaining the financing and assembling the components to actually do it, and getting the general contractor and the subcontractors together. So it's hard to say when exactly they would commence with this.
Okay.
I'm almost done.
Okay, are you good?
I promise. I'm so close to being done. We have had very little contact with the owner of the property previous to Mr. Prekka, and now with Mr. Prekka himself. So we should probably note that. I would love to be able to talk to somebody who lives next door to me and keep those neighborly things going on. And talking to Tabby, who operated Cafe Sol in that property, has been great. However, she does not own the property, obviously. So the previous owner and now Mr. Prekka have been non-communicative when we've tried to communicate with them. So I would really love it if we could talk to our neighbors, much like we talked to Mr. Turner, who owns the property at Lillian's Cafe.
Okay, thank you. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just feel like it's never enough. But yeah, you want me to talk more? No. All right,
Thank you. I'm sure everything will be taken into consideration. Anyone else with a comment?
I didn't get Jessica's last name.
Duncican, D-U-N-I-C-A-N.
I'm sorry, start again?
D-U-N-I-C-A-N.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Hi, my name is Amy Gonzalez, 72 Lovers Lane. I'm concerned this project isn't taking into consideration the future resilience and decreased community vulnerability to environmental impacts. There was a mention of being an asset to the community for a long time, but flooding could potentially impact that. I understand FEMA regulations were considered, but the current flood plans likely are not taking into consideration the increase in significant storms. Furthermore, you mentioned your parking data has accumulation for the past 3 years. That, if you're taking that into consideration, that includes the COVID years, so they're probably not inaccurate. Waterford did an assessment of their taxes last year for the past year, and they increased significantly. So I'm not super certain we've really taken into consideration what's actually happening in downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, I'm Rich Steele, 23 Rose Lane, East Lyme, Connecticut. The first question, and I don't need answers to any of these. These are just things I was thinking about during the presentation.
Thank you.
In terms of the town's sewer capacity, we've seen a lot of articles in the paper recently about we're pushing up against the edge on sewage capacity. We've got a proposed development on Flanders Road that's taking a big chunk, it sounded like, and I'm just not sure how this impacts our town's sewage capacity. The other point of the POCD was that we've got a policy in town about affordable housing. We have a target goal. This, evidently from the answer I heard earlier, does not address affordable housing at all within this development. The third thing I'd like to bring up is I hate to see historic houses demolished, and places that I've lived before have moved historic residences. I know it's not easy. We have lots of historic properties in town. The town has developed and maintained. Would it be possible to move that house instead of destroying it? The patio. If it's really designed for the residences, shouldn't there be a direct access to it through the front of the building? And then do the residents have access to the shops without having to go outside in inclement weather if they wanted to use the shops that are beneath them? Okay. The last point that I think I want to make, and I'm probably forgetting some other points, is in terms of Baptist Street, just in the summer, trying to get in and out of there, it's hard enough for 2 cars to make that turn to get in there and one to get out. Usually somebody's waiting out on Main Street to allow the person to get out of Baptist. It's a very narrow road, and I can't conceive of commercial vehicles making that turn, first of all, much less navigating that and then going to the back. And as was mentioned by other people, I think the parking is woefully inadequate. The parking at Hole in the Wall Beach is woefully inadequate for the amount of visitors that we have, and people park in the back of the bank and in other places. And in terms of the parking, if somebody's renting a place there, will they have a designated spot? And how do you create designated spots in what's also going to be public parking? That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this lady, thank you.
Hi, my name is Maria DeFosi. I'm at 11 King Arthur Drive, Niantic. I don't have questions that need to be answered right now either, but just...
What was your name again? I'm sorry?
Maria DeFosi. I just have concerns from an overall planning perspective. As the first person mentioned, we already have a new building that's significantly impacted our community. Having another building of that same nature is going to have an impact on the community, and I'm wondering if we're really taking into consideration that impact fully and thinking about the planning from a perspective that takes into consideration everything for a long period of time, not just creating houses right now, but how it's going to impact the community. In addition, there are a lot of objectives mentioned that match our town's plans, but how those objectives were being met was very unclear to me. For example, I don't see how the housing is diverse from what I've been presented with so far. I don't see how we're fostering a distinctive and attractive community by tearing down 3 buildings to just put up 1 more building, taking away businesses that are already here for businesses to then need to be attracted. We're going to drive out businesses to attract businesses. We have those businesses now. I also, being someone who doesn't live quite downtown, but rather a few miles away, I have tried to ride my bike to downtown. It's scary. It's really scary. And it's not far. I would love to be able to ride my bike downtown. So how is this taking me into consideration and other people in Niantic who aren't right downtown if you're creating a more walkable environment that we can't drive to, that we can't park at? because there's no space for us, but I don't have a path to get here. So I think that's more of a challenge to our town. If we want to create this walkable environment, then how does that really meet our needs as an entire community and not just the people who have coastal property? And then I just had, I think, one more, but I don't know where it is. I guess I'll stop there for now.
Okay, thank you.
Could you spell your last name for me?
Delta Echo Foxtrot Oscar DEF
I'm sorry, DEF?
OSSE.
Thank you.
I see we have another one.
Hi, Melinda Grouse, 27 East Shore Drive, Niantic. I am definitely pro-business. I own a business, and I own the one right next door, Gumdrops and Lollipops. And I think it's great for new businesses, and we are all, as you know, struggling as it is with new businesses, and thank God we're making a comeback. My only question is about the people that are walking from Hole in the Wall to, up to Main Street. I witnessed so many people nearly getting killed right there. Kids that are running, and it's scary. It's scary. I mean, we have one-way parking, where people are supposed to pull into our driveway from Baptist, and they're supposed to pull into our driveway from a certain way, and you don't get that all the time. You get people that just come and go different ways, and it's tough. It's really tough. And, I just am concerned, about a light. I know what it's like for me to get out of Baptist Lane at the end of the day, and you can't get out because there is everybody parking. I also have front street parking as well, but I'm just saying it's very hard when you're getting out of there. It takes a long time to get out of there. So I'm just wondering about, like, how are people going to be able to manage doing that in the summertime? It's very, very busy, and it's great. It's great for the businesses. So I'm definitely for businesses and progression and things like that. I'm all for it. But I'm just not sure how people walking, and then you're bringing residents in on top of it, how that's going to manifest with everybody just going back and forth. And like I said, it's kids, it's people coming from the beach, it's, after hours, and, you see a lot of not so great things happening down at the Hole in the Wall after hours when the beach closes, and that's an issue too. And it's just, what's going to happen? I don't know. So I'm just wondering, I'm not looking for questions or answers either. I'm just curious, like, how that's going to manifest with, could we put a light there? Would a light help right there? I don't know. That would maybe be worse because people are trying to get in and the road is so narrow, and I don't know. But it's just my thoughts on what to do, because I see it firsthand being right on the corner there. I see the traffic, I see the people, and we're getting busier, which is a great thing. There's a lot more people in town, which again is a great thing. So, I'm not dissuading anything. I just want for the safety of everybody. I don't want to see some little child running out who's just gotten an ice cream at my store getting hit because people are flying down Baptist Lane or leaving Baptist Lane and getting out onto Main Street, and they just want to get home, and there's a lot of people. So it's all good. It's all good. I just want to know just how we're going to work on that. So that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe there was one more, or two more. Come on.
Hi, I'm Barb Weinshank, 26 Huntley Court. A lot of my questions have been answered, but I was wondering about the historic significance of that 1800 house, as well as you had mentioned that I've recently moved here. I'm not involved with the Historic Society here, but I would think that an 1800 house would not be so readily torn down. And I just wanted an explanation. How many total apartments are there, and how many parking spaces are there in the back?
That was in our presentation.
I can answer it quickly.
Okay.
18 total, and 26 spaces in the back.
Okay, and does that include the 5 in the front?
No, there's 8 in the front.
Okay, and so the street parking would still be available to the public?
Correct.
You're thinking that your residents will use that, but it will be open to the public?
The residents will be at the rear. I mean, to follow up on a previous question, it would be dedicated parking, and actually trying to figure out a way to do it right now so that, you know, the residential spaces won't be taken up by people who don't live there. So there will be dedicated residential parking in the rear of the building.
Okay, thank you. But the entrance will be from Baptist Lane, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and the parking, obviously, everybody has a concern with. And I'm not sure about that 50% that you had done. I'll have to do research on that. But the other question that I had was about East Lyme zoning. And are there any zoning laws about chain stores coming in? Like, will this commercial be filled with chain stores, or is there zoning from Main Street, the Main Street Association?
Do you want to?
We don't have anything in our code that prohibits any type of retailer or office use that comes in. There are some prohibitions in terms of like pets and things like that, but nothing with chain stores.
Could you speak into the microphone?
Yes, I could. We don't have anything that prohibits chain stores. I'm not so sure we could even do that under current law.
Okay, and the other thing that was you had mentioned in your presentation about natural resource preservation, and I'm not really sure how this project is meeting those requirements, but that's just maybe a statement. But
Okay, thank you. Next. In the back row.
My name is Mary Rose Conklin, 97 West Main Street. The candy store lady really kind of hit what I wanted to say, and I'm really worried about the Baptist Main Street intersection because it is so tight. And I don't know during this if it could be widened a little bit or something just to help people. Because you see, you got the big car coming out this way and this car's waiting to go in that way. But, you know, and people are just frozen and stuff. And you see kids walking up and down that road. They don't use the sidewalk. You want to explain that to kids, teenagers, like, get on the sidewalk, please? No, they just walk up and down. So I think it is very dangerous. I do believe the parking is just very inadequate. You got 26 spaces, 18 are going to individual apartments. That leaves you 8 spaces for 2-car rentals. What about the business owners? Are they getting parking spaces? And if you're required to put in charging, because Connecticut did pass the right to charge law, then you're going to lose spaces to that. So I don't think the parking's adequate. I'm not against the project, but I just think there's a big major thing that could cause a lot of problems, especially in the summertime, on Baptist Street. And now when you got the garbage trucks going down to get the garbage and stuff, you know, I'm just worried about that. I'm worried about, like the candy store lady, you know, the people walking there, the ladies, you know, your moms are pushing their strollers, they got little kids hanging on, they're wandering all over the place. So, you know, I'm just worried about that, and if anything can be done to help improve the safety of that street.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh,
Can I do 30 seconds?
30 seconds is yours. Come on up.
It's emotional and technical. Real quick. John Vilcek, as it's spelled, as it's heard, 4 Meadow Street, Niantic. The max height can be 30 feet. That's been stated. We say that there's going to be 5 or 6 more feet of equipment, air conditioning, handlers of some sort. Is that meet the zoning rule? Can we go that much higher?
Yeah, it's in the code for those kind of amenities.
Okay. And the other thing is emotional. I was here at a meeting when Crescent Point was being proposed. The other Crescent Point I knew of is on Mass Avenue in Boston. I asked the builder, are you going to turn us into Mass Avenue in Boston? And he said, of course not. It's just going to be a seaside type building. It's going to be very great. There was a term that came up earlier, behemoth. We have a behemoth there that took out a drugstore that the residents that live there would have gone to. Huh? We're going to build another behemoth right at a beach area where all these people are concerned about the young folks going to the beach and the parking. We have the SIFT building that's yellow down the street. Are we going to turn Main Street, as time goes by, and I ask you to consider this, all 3-story buildings on either side of the street? Food for your thought. Please don't do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we done? We have one. Is okay, if it's quick. Thank you.
Okay, Rich Steele, again, 23 Rose Lane. There's been a lot of comments about Baptist Street. I don't know within your design plans if it's possible you could construct a drive for your garbage truck and your residents on the west side of the building instead of using Baptist. No,
Sorry.
oh, that's
No,
your
thank
building.
you.
Okay, scratch that one.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it up.
But then widen Baptist Street.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming and your comments. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion that we close the public hearing. Oh, sorry, Carrie?
If we close the public hearing, then all the information that we received tonight,
Yes.
will we be able to discuss this if we find anything out? The answer from the past is no. So if we do make a motion, I would like to continue the public hearing. Because if any information comes to any member's light, we will not be able to present that.
That's up to the commission.
Yeah, we were presented tonight.
Mhm.
You know, he went over our regulations. I have a copy here. You know, like, I would like to go over it more in depth rather than just sitting here for 2 hours now listening to this. And for us to close this now, if we do go back and read our regulations and we find something, we cannot bring it back.
If the members want to continue it, make the motion to continue. But we have a motion on the floor, I think.
It wasn't seconded.
I wasn't. I would like to make a motion to what Commissioner Donovan is saying. I would like to continue this, yes. I think to continue it. I think there's a lot of information, and I think that there's a lot of things, like, I have to agree with him that we really need to double check and make sure that everything is checked off and everything. So there's a lot of information to go over.
Do we have a second to continue?
I will.
You second?
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carried.
Okay. Madam Chair, is there a date of the continuation?
Our
Tentatively the 13th.
next week. We're looking at a special meeting for next week.
Yeah, there's a text amendment on that agenda, and you could easily pull this forward to that date, which would give you next Thursday, I guess, is the 13th. Is that right? Yeah.
So next.
So we're looking at the 13th versus the regular date?
You have, on the 20th, you have a full schedule, a very full schedule. Special meeting tentatively on the 13th, and a text amendment for the new theater downtown.
Could you please keep
And
your
I-
comments down, folks?
I
Sorry,
think
Madam Chair.
that's okay. I think that all this will be fresh in our mind next week too. So the next meeting that we're having is the 13th.
It'll be the 13th.
Mhm. Thank you.
And we certainly have no objection to clarifying any additional issues the commission may have at that time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on to our regular meeting and the approval of the minutes of February 16th. I hear that was delayed to approve until this meeting, and also the minutes of March 16th. If you need a few minutes to look over them, take them.
Madam Chair, last meeting.
I did
You
see
were
a
somewhere
correction.
more.
Yeah, I saw that. I couldn't.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Is Norm coming back?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Beck.
Is Mr. Peck still here?
Yeah. Mr. Peck!
I didn't see him.
I thought he left.
Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Schmidt.
Ooh.
Oh.
There's a step right there.
Yeah. I know you want to.
I used to be an EMT.
Yeah.
Bye.
Good night.
Can you close those doors for us, please?
I do have one correction on the last minutes. I wasn't here, so I couldn't have called the meeting to order.
So which one are we looking at?
March 16th.
Okay, and did you,
There-
did you do this February?
Do we have any corrections to the February minutes?
Jerry, you had some.
Yeah, well, you have that copy. So on the minutes from February 16th, unfortunately, the commission did not receive them, so that's why we tabled them to this meeting. To where it's basically just I think just the click and paste errors to where said call to order, Madam Chair, Jay Ginsburg and Dave Schmidt were seated. That should not be there. And then down underneath the regular meeting, it says Jay Ginsburg and Dave Schmidt were seated. That should not be there. Well, what should be there is that Mr. Schmidt and Ms. Markovitz remained seated.
And say for above, that's Markovitz.
That is correct above, Dave Schmidt and Markovitz, yes. They sat for Norm and Terry. Yep.
Any other on that, on February?
That is all
I didn't have any on
I
that.
remember.
But on the March 16th, I suppose it was Mr. Granitek that called the
Yeah.
meeting to order?
Oh, it was.
Yep. Again, just I think a click and paste.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I go to the meeting.
Yeah.
Any other corrections? Let's do these separately. Is there a motion to approve the February 16th minutes with changes?
I'll make a motion to approve the February 16th, 2023 meeting minutes as amended.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there a motion to approve the March 16th minutes as amended?
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of March 16th, 2023 as amended.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstention? I abstain.
I abstain.
So 402. Okay, moving on. Do we have a motion to approve the outdoor dining permits? I believe we have to read them again.
Do we really?
There's 14 of them,
I
right?
know. Do we legally?
Well, they don't match up. That's what I'm confused
They
about.
don't.
Wait a minute, Roseanne, what?
Because number one was approval of minutes in the regular meeting, and then the...
Ah,
That's
gotcha.
why.
Just a-
Okay,
That's
gotcha.
why.
Clerical. All right.
Yeah,
Sorry about that,
I
Ms.
numbered
Hardy.
when I read them out,
Yeah.
but that may not match.
You
Right?
may, if I may offer a suggestion, you may be able to say, if somebody moves to approve, the applications are so noted in the public hearing, and then we'll make up a legal ad and run it, if you decide to go down that path.
Where is it?
So it would be number 2 through 16, omitting number 14. Right here.
We'll just make the motion as previously read into the record during the public hearing.
Does someone want to make that motion?
Yes.
It is on the handout that was presented to us from Mr. Mulholland. So I will make a motion to approve all of the special permits for restaurant outdoor dining facilities as noted on the agenda. Items 1 through 15 into the record, excluding the application from Dabs on Main, which was number 13
On the agenda.
on the agenda. Thank you.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, it passed. Next,
Excuse me, Madam Chairman,
yes.
Publish next Thursday, effective on Friday.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on, we have the George Norden. Do we have any discussion or motions on the application of George Norden for the special permit for indoor recreation?
No, I wish it was open later, but other than that, it's fine. I mean, I think it's good for the area. I mean, I believe he's next door to Mr. Cook.
Mhm.
So, in terms of the noise level, it's going to, transmit over. So,
Yeah,
I'm glad he has an AED.
it is, yeah, it is
We're all
what
over
it is.
50, so.
Other than that, I have no issues with that. I think it's good. Again, I mean, if he changes his hours in the future, if he sees it fit for the business, I don't believe that the commission will have an issue with that either. So it's just the,
Just a motion
his hours
to approve.
regardless.
So do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second it.
Do you want to read it?
Application of George Norden for special permit for indoor recreation at 170 Flanders Road, East Lyme, Assessor's Map, 26.3, Lot 11.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, 600.
Madam Chairman, publish next Thursday, effective on Friday.
Thank you. Since we're continuing the other one, we'll move on to old business. Under subcommittees, we have the architectural design review regulations for the CA commercial zone. Mr. Mulholland?
Ann and I met, I think I'm close to a final draft, so I'd like to get that to you as soon as I can, but I did note the 13th and the 20th, you're going to have there's a lot of material to cover, so we're going to be real busy. And May is starting to shape up that we're going to be busy as well on both meetings.
Okay. So maybe the meeting after that, we'll do that. Under new business, we have the application of Todd Donovan for the clubhouse for a special permit for commercial indoor recreation, individual baseball, softball training at 15 Industrial Park Road, Niantic, Assessor's Map 26.1, Lot 2. And we also have an application of Dr. Kara Obradowski of the Niantic Veterinary Hospital for a special permit to operate a veterinary practice at 9 Lake Avenue, Niantic, Assessor's Map 11.2, Lot 131. Mr. Mulholland, will you schedule those, please?
I will, thank you.
Thank you.
Isn't that already there?
Yeah, there's a change in ownership.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Enough
very
said.
briefly, we're not supposed to talk about it, but the vet
Yep,
is
I got it.
legal pre-existing non-conforming, and she wants to make it conforming, so in the future, new buyer may want to expand or do something different.
Gotcha.
So it's a housekeeping measure.
Gotcha.
So if the commission doesn't mind, since we're running long, if we could move to Mr. Mulholland, do you have anything
I've got
tonight?
nothing. I've already said you're going to be busy, so I'm good, thank you.
Ms. Hardy?
Well, the custodian's shift ends at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
If we continue much longer, we're going to have to take up a donation.
Okay. I think we can do it. I think we can do
So
it.
I will keep mine simple. The Board of Selectmen did approve last night the building and zoning permit and inspection fees as they were recently submitted, so the revised fees, which included some upgrades, some increased fees. Those were unanimously approved.
Oh, thank you.
And if you'd like more information, just watch the rerun of the Board of Selectmen meeting that lasted till 10:15.
Okay, thank you.
Did you come up with a donation?
And planning. We didn't have the planning listed on the agenda here. I know Mr. Ginsburg had March.
Actually, I had switched with Denise.
Okay. And she's not here tonight, So I don't think, has anyone else been to a planning meeting this month? No. All right. We'll have Jessica look at who's next. It might be, is it Mr. Granitek?
It may. I actually need a copy of that
I'm in May.
because I'm on vacation too. So I'm going to make sure there isn't a conflict.
Okay. We can work that out by next meeting if no one has to schedule with them.
I do, but I'm not going to waste the time.
Okay. We'll move on. We have the bylaws. I know, Mr. Donovan, you have an amendment you'd like to bring up for that. They were supposed to be signed and filed actually by the end of January, but we had them hanging out there for changes. Do you want to pass what we have so we can sign and file them and bring the amendment up at the next meeting? We have only 10 minutes right now.
Actually, you know, if we keep putting this off, the longer it's going to take, in all honesty. You know, like you sent everybody from our discussions before.
Yeah, everyone was fine with what we had, but I believe you did have one thing. And
Quite
then
a
I
few,
was
actually.
okay.
In the existing Article 3, down on the number 11, vacancies will be filled according to procedures defined in Section 2.5.2 and 2.5.5. That's how it is, you know,
I don't have
proposed
my
right now.
copy
It
with
should be
me.
of the town charter. There's just certain things that need to be added that were omitted. Stuff like that.
Well, we did everything that we had gone through last time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But
So,
what it says right now is it says vacancies will be filled according to procedures defined in sections 2.5.2 and 2.5.5.
and you just want to add
According procedures of what? So you need to add of the town charter.
How many do you have? We only have 10 minutes. How many besides
I
that
will-
one?
Business is business. We'll come up with a donation. You know, I'll pay for them. Okay.
Okay, so we have that one.
And something that did come up tonight that I'm sure you know everybody did go or attended the training that we had a couple weeks ago. We all learned that alternates can participate in public hearings. However, they cannot participate unless they are seated in the regular meetings. So that affects quite a number of items on here. So now, if you'd like me to come up with my proposed changes to your proposed changes, I'll be happy to carry on. But there's just certain criteria in here, not criteria, but the layout of the bylaws, you know, simple things, you know, minor, like members should be Article 1, chairman, Article 2, et cetera, going down there. And then just certain wordings of other bylaw statements, you may say, or whatever, on here. Just need some clarification and some editing, as you may say.
I know we went over 'em kind of ad nauseum before, and everyone agreed. We can definitely make amendments if you bring them up again. Just to get them filed for now, unless you want
It
to
was my
stay
understanding
another
that you already
hour.
filed them.
They're not signed. They need to be signed and filed. But I don't know if everyone
But-
wants to stay another hour and go over bylaws.
No,
or,
I think that we held it off last time. Now we're going to be getting busy, as Mr. Mulholland said.
Mhm.
So are we going to do this at every meeting?
I think we need to
Put
put them to
them off?
rest. I think we need to make a decision, and that's our bylaws. Like, I don't see going over them every meeting and changing them, but that's just me.
I'm not. These were your proposed, and this is what I found in clerical errors.
Are there more, Terry, that were added from before? Did you find some more things?
Because did you?
Just regarding the alternates that we've all learned from the trainings on there, in here it says that they cannot have any participating whatsoever. Such as adding, you know, like Mr. Dwyer brought up and mentioned of the state statute 9167A. Should it be in the quorum as well? So you have it in one part of the bylaws, not the other part of the bylaws. So that's contradicting.
Maybe it would
You
help.
also need to add on here in section 4 of the current Article 4, you don't have adjournment. Adjournment needs to be added to the bylaws. You don't have chair report.
And
There's
this,
some of these that, I'm sorry, there's some of these that fall under,
Is that our final copy that you have?
yes, this is what you proposed to send out to everybody.
Okay.
So you do not have a German or chair report on there. And some of these other ones, like disposition of minutes, falls under regular meeting. Subcommittee reports falls under old business. Zoning official report, ex officio report, zoning, that all, everything that falls in. I mean, that, you don't have to do that, but just a suggestion.
any new changes, I'm not comfortable making a decision on right now. I need to look at them.
Ms. Jet Harris. I agree.
I need to look at it. I'm
So that's
sorry.
why I'm saying, if you'd like me to, make another proposed.
That's fine. Why don't you do
what
that?
you did there, and then we can go from
We'll
there.
have everyone look at it before a meeting, so it won't take up meeting time and vote on it.
And it sounds like these types of changes are something that's easier to soak up when we're actually reading it
Yes.
and
Correct.
looking at it. So
Agreed.
if you
Yes.
have the ability to take the original, what we discussed previously, and in a clear format, add your changes without actually inserting it into the document, but something that we can see and reflect on or review at the next meeting. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Just to try to streamline it, and so we don't keep going back and forth, and we can agree that, okay, this was the original, this is the change.
Correct.
and we come
So
up
right
with
now,
a final
everyone should
document.
have a copy that we went over the last time that we actually discussed it.
Yes,
with all
and we-
the
and-
Madam Chair's notes on there, and then she sent us all an email with all those changes
Yeah.
Yes.
with this.
But there's one, Terry, you just came up with in the book here. That one, could you put a asterisk by it so we can see it? You said
I will. It has
Thanks.
to do with the alternates, yes.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
You bet. I will list everything on there, but it's also my busy season too, so.
Can we put this on the agenda for next meeting?
I thought we did
Yeah.
that.
Well, it was on the agenda here to
In-
just, I wasn't sure how many or what changes you were wanting to bring up.
In
so-
the minutes, or at the last meeting rather, Denise Markovitz made a motion to add it to our agenda.
And it was on here, right here,
And unfortunately, it
bylaws.
fell under chairman. So that's really not an agenda item.
Well, it's
It
on
should-
the
it should
agenda,
be
and we're
under-
discussing
It should be
it.
under old business.
So we will put it on the agenda for next meeting. Please type out proposals. I hope this is the last time we have to deal with it for a while. Anyway, a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
We're adjourned. Everyone say aye, please.
Aye.
Hmm.